Welcome back. You see that one of the challenges that we really experience every day is overcoming self-doubt. Until you get to that level where, man, that's why most people usually have some kind of framework, environment. Some could put it inside an environment that's they set up the environment for success. And the idea is because belief is so important. In fact, your belief determines the direction or the direction you take, or your belief determines the direction of your action. Okay? It influences a lot regards your actions and the steps you take. The belief actually influences a lot regards the actions and the directions of the step or actions you take. It informs everything. So the foundation as to what we want to look at today, so I don't really say much, is about process. We had looked at positioning. I gave you an overview and we looked at positioning. So this time around we're going to be looking at process. Okay, the process. And I'm defining process with regards knowing and setting up systems that trigger success. Knowing and setting up systems that triggers or influences success. Like I said, the aim of this foundational teaching or this boot camp is so you could know how to properly take care of your baby now that you're young, okay? And so your baby could take care of you. That's just the foundation. So when it has to do with process setting up, systems, and implementation, the most important thing is that process, when it has to do with your business process, your business process is divided into three main areas. Number one is the production, and number two has to do with the sales, and number three has to do with the fulfillment. All right, fulfillment. I'm going to explain what it means. Okay. When we talk about the production, you have to look at everything that's involved in your business from the point of you building. Now, I want to recommend a book. It's called The Business Blueprint. Like, this thing is simple. It's called The Business Blueprint. The book really helped me a lot because it really taught me how to document. When I visited my counselor early, when I started from zero, during my early days when I started my career, trying to offer value. A lot of you knew I was coming into the branding space, but literally it was before the branding. So I went to see my counselor, and he told me, he helped me because I got from $0 to $50, like in just one. That's why I said that the people you associate yourself with, understand, and environment is very important. Very important. Like your environment is very important. Like you remember the story of the three birds who sat on a tree, and two decided to fly, and the question was, if two decided to fly, how many was left? There's an answer for you. The idea is three, because the fact that you decided doesn't mean that you actually took action. So you should always stay around friendships that allow you to take action, because no matter how small, everything is better than zero. You didn't get that. Oh, if a balance small, everything is better than zero. You want it to be nice, you want it to be perfect. Now stay around friendships that allow you to take action. And that action is possible through belief. Your belief triggers or determines to a great extent the actions and the directions of your actions. Okay, so action is very, very important because it is what guarantees result. Like everything, we said everything and didn't do anything. In fact, a lot of people, what they do actually is to surround them with belief system that forces them to take action. Belief system that forces them to say, I can get to the president's apartment. That's whether you can say I can get to the White House right now, and then I can knock on the door, and people tend to. Now you're doubting. Well, that's a belief system. Is it not possible? Has someone done it? Then that's the answer. So the thing that I want to recommend is regards what we're doing is to continually set up your environment that influences your belief system. The world is full of negative stuff. I mean, things that we've gathered over the years. Don't think it will just go out in just an easy bite. It's not that easy. I mean, your parents, some of us were still having these high level self-doubt and self-talk. How can it be possible? How can it be possible? And your parents as well, telling you that it's not possible. And I started by telling you to free your mind. So that's just it. But let's look at the process. The process. It's often said that amateurs, they have a technique or they just know how to do stuff. But experts have a process. Experts and professionals have a process. That's in other words, amateurs will just stumble on it and they won't actually pay attention to the fact that success leaves clues and the fact that they have to document each and every step. If you read this book, another book that will help you in process is if you read Built to Sell. It's a very strong book, John Willow. You'll be able to understand what we mean by process. Process is so important because it helps you know what you're putting in and which informs you on what you should get out. So in process, we're going to be looking at number one process is the production phase. And what I want you to do is just to ask yourself, what do I need in my production? And how long does it take? So you're going to look at resources, everything, and then you're going to look at what the output. And it's more about time management. It's more about productivity and really saying, okay, this is how much it's required for me to put in. Now, I don't want to go into pricing and all those kind of things. Pricing, that would be some other class. I know definitely we can talk about it. But in general, in passing, there are techniques to pricing. And the only thing I'll tell you when it has to do with pricing is test. Keep on testing. I'm telling you, because you might not know you're actually going below. You say, okay, this is because of the industry standard and stuff like that. Now, keep on testing. Keep on testing. The price position that you think you are comfortable with, that's the price position that you should place it. It doesn't matter. Don't think about it. The person who is not sick has no need for a physician. That's the truth. Are you getting me? If a person doesn't have need for it, then it will look like the price. Have you ever seen someone, how much is treatment for corona? Person who is not sick has no, but do you say it's expensive? That's just by the way. So production, you have to look at everything that goes into your production because at the end of it, it will determine the price, it will determine your time, it will determine the cost. So the idea is for you to really document that. And then the next thing we're going to talk about is sales, the sales cycle or the sales process. Because after production, you need to go toward the market. And we're talking about transaction, but we're talking about the first thing is going to be acquisition, and then you'll be able to carry out the transaction. So that's really what the thing is about. Now, in this sales process, people talk about it from the perspective of customer journey and your sales process. Sales process is one process in the process of a business. Okay, so it's large. In fact, it's really large, and you need to pay attention to it. But why we don't look at everything, to monitoring, to valuation, to HR, to this, to that? I mean, like if you go to the business blueprints, it's more in two sides. One to the very simplest thing, and then to how these people develop blueprints on how to be able to build a specialist hospital, and then put in the right equipment and complete that project over a period of time that was stipulated. So that business blueprint gave them an insight as to documenting the process, as to what was the most important, what are the most important requirements. But for you as a small business, you don't need to, like I said, cash flow. In fact, if you're really struggling to make sure that you want to get everything right, I think you're already late. You shouldn't think that way. It's a bad mind. What you should do is to test. You get on, you test, you adjust. Life is not really waiting on you. You're already going through what we call entropy. You're not living, you're growing, you're deteriorating by the day. So what are you really waiting for? Is to test. And in the course of you testing, you are actually learning hands-on experience that people won't have just guessing through. I remember when I was learning how to do live streaming, trying to learn how to do live streaming at the peak of where Corona started. And we didn't have this elaborate budget, elaborate fees on how to get to it. But I just said, I didn't figure stuff out because I was into media. So I decided to figure stuff out. Guess what? The first time I did it, I had like 10 minutes buffer, like from the streaming point to the delivery point. As if I'm streaming from here and I'm in the same room, like I'm streaming from here, before the thing will get to the other monitor, which had Facebook Live on, it took like nearly 10 minutes. I was like, oh, what's this? Now guess what? Later on, I kept working on it, kept modifying it, and I got 10 seconds. Later on, I kept modifying it. I got 3 seconds. And when I had 3 seconds, guess what? I sold it. And that was my USP, my high selling point. People say, go get it on YouTube. I say, fine, go get it on YouTube. And guess what? I charge premium for everything. How was I able to do that? I tested. What if I waited and said, oh, the answers will come to me? No, I kept practicing. I kept finding out, figuring out, testing things, kept involving myself, stayed on it. Everybody left me, abandoned me. I was still there in the trenches. And sometimes in the process of retesting all these things on our own business, we realize that these are the things that work. These are the principles that work. And we come out to sell it to the high-end consumer. And that's how we make profit. If it works, we try it on them. After all, I'm shortening your time of energy. What if I gave you 5 years of experience condensed that allows you to make a 5-year return on your investment? What would that be? Removing all the speed, removing all the mistakes that you're supposed to make. And this is where I am. I'm giving you maybe like 100 million worth of value that if you're injecting in your business, this is what it's giving you. What would that mean for you? Cutting you down of all the 5 years. In your very first year, you're hitting 100 million. What would that mean for you? So that's how we sell value. But if you don't take action, you're not going to know. So, in other words, what I was saying is that sales is one of the process. And the sales journey that is involved with your customer or whatever, it's divided into two. Number one is the acquisition and then the transaction. People, don't complicate yourself. You're done with the product. Now it's in the market. You want to sell. Number one is acquisition. How do you get your customers? How do you get your customers? So already we had determined that our customers, they were people between the age of and who were frequent. We talked about here. You know, said that right now they're in media platforms. And I had motivated you to the point where I said that right now everything is available to you on a click of a button. Do you know how hard it was to communicate? But now you have about 4.2 billion people on your smartphone that you can connect to across the world on the internet, seeing your product and your services. But yet you think that, you're limiting yourself. You think that there's nothing that is limiting you other than yourself. That's what I need there. There's nothing that is limiting you other than yourself. And that's where belief state comes in. So that's what we want to talk about, acquisition. And in this acquisition process, you need to understand where your customers are because you will identify them. And you need to understand also the messaging or the creative, I don't know, but the messaging is very important that you want to use, and the creatives. The messaging you can always pick from telling them about if they are going through this pain to qualify them, and then telling them about your solution. And then you can move a step further to actually adding images to what you do, because images they speak faster than words and they are 1,000 words. So instead of you having to write, you can create 3 seconds hook into what you wanted. It's amazing. You need to learn this thing. I mean, when I discovered the back end to Instagram and Facebook, I was like, especially Instagram carousel, that's amazing. People are bringing in a whole lot of creativity. You should research on those stuff. And sometimes I think the more we get in, I'm going to really bring you into understanding how Instagram works. I'll really show you some back end stuff this day. So we're talking about acquisition. Acquisition is very important. How you acquire customers from the point of acquisition, where they are at, and the messaging, or yes, the messaging you want to send across to them. And then you also identify the transaction aspect of it and how long it takes for an average customer to take action. How long it takes. Now, whatever you're trying to do is that if it takes you, say, 1 month to get at least one customer, what I'm trying to teach you is that you can, whatever hack, you should get to a level whereby you're also seeing how you can shrink that into systems, whereby you're not just going from fish to farming, and you're not just going from 1 month to have one customer, except you're selling premium product like lifetime kind of product, you're selling product. But I think you should also make provisions to also have readily available offers, like simple things that people can buy daily inflow. It's also a weekly info, whatever the case is. But the idea is a lot of people to be able to buy from you. So the foundation that I shared was getting to sell from one-to-one to one-to-many. So you should see how you can shrink that process and the time it's taking you to really go there. So if it's taking you maybe 1 to get 4, 1 month to get 4, you should see how you can double it to get 8. You should see how you can double it to get 10. You should see how you can double it to get 20. You see how you can double it to get 30 and 40. Some people sell up to 500, 1,000 people. The techniques are very, very amazing. So you should see about the transaction and how long it takes. Now, let me tell you something. When you discover how your sales process works, like for me, when I was auditing my sales process, I realized that I usually have customers come to me, clients come to me and say, Steve, we want you to do me a logo. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm going to do a logo because it's about branding. So maybe that's how they'll sound, but then we're going to dig them. And then when I get them through the process and I pre-qualify them, educate them, validate them that are okay and they're good to go. And they said, okay, we don't have that budget. We'd like to waive, but we don't have that budget right now. What we're going to do is, okay, or something like, I'll get back to you. So that was my sales process. And don't be afraid. Just document what the sales process looks like. I'll get back to you. And I'll get back to you would be as much as, 4 months. And then that's how everything does. So I never get back to them. So then in my sales process, I now realize that the reason why this thing is like this is because I've not been able to follow back, or follow through. The 3 F's by Ryan Serhant. So if you read Ryan Serhant books, Sell Like Serhant, you'll be able to understand this. So I've not been following up through them. And that's how my sales economy was doing. So then I had to, looking at my sales process, I had to see how I can close more in the opening between that day, the week, or within the month. Are you getting me? Or as much as, and people that I'm supposed to follow through. If you look at all the people that follow you, they follow you up to a year. On email, which is permission marketing, they follow you up to a year and they're sending you emails as to offers, and I was shocked when Billie Jean actually told me, like, Steve, we know you've been opening your emails. Okay, here's the offer we're making since you're not taking action. And guess what? That really intrigued me. And these are things that people that are generating hundreds of millions of dollars, at least I'm sure, in a month. How many do you have? You have to model what works. You think everybody, look, we all came here into this life naked. Whatever we have is because we have picked up the right things and picked up the right results. So nobody, leave that thing I say I wasn't born with. Nobody was born with that. Everything is because of environment. Even if it's Prince Charles, environment to call him master, environment to make him carry himself like. So what if you get, that's human life is about programming. That's why Tony Robbins is actually teaching that and bringing you into that state. It's about programming. Okay, programming your consciousness. So if you program yourself in that kind of environment over time, before you know it, it becomes your consciousness. It becomes instinctual. It becomes your reality. Because as a king, you need to think on your feet. And that's exactly what it is. So you need to focus on how long and what it takes to complete the transaction, and an average. Calculate what is your average for the month and minus expenses and everything. You'll be able to have that. And your question should always be, how can you leverage that?
How can you leverage that is going to be from the question of how can you add more value and how can you get from serving just one to many. So increasing value and increasing the number of people that you're serving. I think that's a better deal. So number one is the value and number two, customers. So every strong brand right now, because the kingdom is known by people in the sense that people attracts the attention of kings. Okay, so when you say these people are doing this, these people are doing this, so whatever it is attracts the attention or the resources of kings. In other words, the resources that you're looking for, maybe you want to even billions of dollars, is about people. So try as much as possible, because I said that the stronger brands, what they are doing is to constantly increase their customers, constantly increase their customers. So that's it. Tony Robbins said that one thing that helps you get financial freedom is income first, cash flow, income first. And when you get that, you can now see how you can increase your money management skills, save, and then you can see how you can invest. So that's it. If it doesn't come, how do you save? How do you invest? So you need to see how you can increase that. Let's see how we can say, okay, minimum I can get in a day $1. Minimum I can get in a day $10. And it's possible. The idea, if I wanted to tell you, but this is just in terms of service aspect. But on the upper hand, if you can get to passive, having something that you can sell in the passive, like something that you can automate, you necessarily don't have to be involved selling your time for money or your services. Someone can do it and get it by himself, get a resource, and help itself. You're not necessarily selling your time for money. That's actually significance, where you're doing something that helps you free up time in the future. So that's exactly what it is. And then the fulfillment. The fulfillment aspect is very, very important, because it talks about satisfaction. Was your customer satisfied? What was their feedback? And then it talks about post-customer engagement. So it talks about more about the post-customer engagement. It's very important. It's your process. Like, are you not going to reach back to them and say, thank you for banking with us? Listen, a lot of all these premium brands, that's what they do. They don't have much customers, but the way they service the customer, the service the hell out of them. I'm not supposed to sound that, but that's how it is. The service, above and beyond. I was listening to one of the guys that I follow very well, and the guy that owns Marquis Jet before he sold it to Warren Buffett, Jesse Isler. When he started, he just serviced the hell out of all of the clients by reaching out to them and telling them, what more can you need? And those are the people that referred. So, post-customer engagement, that leads to referral and Oscar. You need to document how you want to continue the system. And often I had this documented up to testimonials that I have to go back and get testimonials that I can leave on my website. And yes, even in your sales process, you have to talk about acquisition. Acquisition also covers the channels that you will be advertising on, to both paid and owned media, your website, all those kind of things, and the strategy which you want to engage with. And I'm going to be showing you sharing you templates on how to set up those strategies. And I'm going to be sharing you templates as well on how to be able to retain them. So in the acquisition aspect, we're talking about marketing. You can see marketing here. Marketing, like I said, paid and own your website and all those kind of things, and the engagement. Sometimes you might not have instant marketing. Sometimes you need to follow them through up to maybe people that are high figure kind of mark. They want to release, maybe inject 2 billion. You need to give them time for them to build rapport and trust with you. So you might follow them up to 12 months, showing them around properties and things like that before you sell. And then you can also follow through with email. I told you about Billie Jean, and you can also apply what we call content marketing in some of the post engagement stuff. So the idea is, I'm really going to break this down in the model so that you can fill it in to know, okay, what do I need in my production? So you write out and the results you want to have. What do I need? Write all the things I need. Just write it down. Everything that revolves around production and how much it costs, the output and how much it costs. And then you talk about sales. What's the process like? The acquisition. Maybe just focus on a single media. Because that is social. And maybe social on web. Maybe the web is going to talk about everything about your product. You don't need to tweak it, except maybe your blog post. okay, for further engagement. Like I said, it talks about engagement and all those kind of things. And engagement also engaging. So sometimes excerpts from your blog can be used on your social media. And then when you have offers, you can now sell. So that's it. So acquisition, where your customers are at. And then the next thing is creating those kind of creatives that helps you to attract them and engage them. And the actual transaction and the time frame it takes to complete that transaction. Now, when you have that, you talk about the average that you generate from the month and see how you can improve that. That's a sales process for you. And then you talk about post engagement. How do you want to engage your customer after sales? When it talks about satisfaction, fulfillment, are they satisfied? You go back, did you get feedback? Because if you don't have fulfillment and feedback, you will not really know. People that come, you don't have social proof, you will not be able to really get to some audience. So you need to know if they can refer. So those are all the fulfillment aspect. Don't bug your mind about monitoring, evaluation, this, that, give that. You need cash flow. This is quick stuff. If you do these core things, you would realize that you're on the right track to success. In fact, if you have these three processes right, because everything is that you can have a good sales process, but are they satisfied? You need to go back. What can you improve? That's how you begin to innovate on things that you already know. That's it. So they are very, very important. And as a small business, as time goes on, you start to bring in maybe middle managers if you want to go into corporations, but you can have people that can supervise at that level. It's very simple. It's very simple. Please. Very simple. Just someone that can maybe manage 2 or 3 persons and then get answerable to you. But it's still within an organization of 12 to 15. Yeah, within that amount. And with that, you'll be able to know how to move your organization forward. It's not bad when you have 15 staffs working for you. It's not bad when you have those kinds of people working for you. It gets you the free time, and then you can manage them. And then when you travel or when you're at break of vacation, because when you put your nose to the grindstone, you can't be creative. You can't spot new ideas. And when you now go back, you can now start spotting opportunities, and that's the best. So that's that for that. So I just want you to go ahead and visit the materials, the checklist, and everything that I'm going to give to you, and start filling up your ideas. And until then, we will see you in the next class. And make sure if you have questions, try as much as possible to reach out, and I'll be there to help. So good luck and do the best you can do. And cheers.